What I'm about to say is simply one man's perspective. But social media marketing is one hell of a term. It seems like at least once a week I see some kind of new entrepreneur selling a program that will show you how you can own your own business and travel the world and have all this financial freedom and be your own boss is often the classic line. And I find that interesting because let's break that down a little bit, because I think it's a very telling of something that I think is kind of going on. So social media obviously is a new thing, and it's talked a lot about, and social media marketing is the new industry, and there's a lot of pressure for small to medium-sized businesses to get online because they're being told that that's the next generation. And there's this huge inflation of how valuable social media marketing is to your business and how it's really the difference between make or break these days. So these businesses that don't even really know why they need to be on social media, they just know they need to be on it. And so they don't understand it because they're generally owners who are of a different generation, an older generation who are a little less in touch with social media, but they feel that pressure. So they hire young people because they know young people are familiar with it. They grew up with Facebook. Oh, you know more than me. I'm clueless. I'll just let you take care of it. But I know it's valuable. So here's a blank check. Let me pay you whatever you want. And you see programs like Tai Lopez, who sells that social media marketing, and he claims you can make $1,000 to $10,000 a month managing businesses' social media. I'm not here to dispute that figure at all. But what I am here to discuss is this idea that there is a falsehood that's sort of going on. I think, for starters, social media is not nearly as valuable as people say it is. If you look at someone like McDonald's or Sonic or Burger King or Larabar, Cliff, or any of these big companies, their Instagrams are simply presence. Anything that exists, they need to be present on it. And so spending several $1 million to have a department manage their social media is fractions of a cent in their overall advertising budget. But for the pizza store down the street, $1,000 a month paid to some teenager who's going to post a picture of your pizzas every single day, we're talking about a very different, no pun intended, piece of the pie. It's much larger scale and much more damaging, and I just simply don't see the ROI on that sort of advertising. Now, let me break it down a little bit more. I know several people who have marketing majors or marketing related majors, and they know very little about how social media on a day-to-day operates in terms of finding insights, how to get engagement, what that engagement means, how to infiltrate a market. They're generally not aware of that, and that's not at the fault of themselves. That's generally the fault of the schooling, because they're still teaching, for the most part, traditional styles of advertising. So magazines, radio ads, things like that. So we have a young generation, who knows about, they're aware of social media. They obviously know how to post and make an Instagram post and know how hashtags work, and that's great. But when it actually comes to how do you make advertising on social media effective, well, they look to giant companies. What's Sonic doing with their Instagram? Okay, well, let's go on Sonic. They have pictures of their hamburgers, all right? They have cute photos, and they post every day. So let's go back to the pizza store down the street. Let's make a picture of their pizza every day. Let's put a little advertisement. That's great. Well, let's look at how many people are following that pizza store. You have 200 likes on the page. That's really ineffective group of people, but yet you're getting paid $1,000 a month. Why? Because the owner just simply, out of almost panic, out of force, feels that it's so important for them to be on social media that they have to pay the money. And the only reason why they're not seeing results and there isn't more than 200 likes is because they're not paying their manager enough. And they need another one. They need a whole team of people operating this. That's the climate that I'm observing. And I have worked now with several small businesses on various video projects and helping them develop their social media presence. And I often work alongside of social media marketers who the company has hired. And I always almost know they're being paid more than me. And, you know, I hate I hate to sound like this, but I just know that they don't even have as much experience posting online as, say, I might. But that's simply just because of my frequency. But there's this idea that, just post every day and the likes will come. But you have to remember the climate that we live in. We live in a very advertising saturated society. And people, they're just going to turn their brains off because, in order to have these free services like Facebook, Google, Twitter, in order for those to be free, we have to pay in advertising. We have to be advertised to in order to make those services free. And because almost all of those services are free, we're bombarded. So posting picture after picture is just not going to be effective. And you really need to create a community, a narrative, if you will, for your business. So really, what is the story that you have to tell? And what is that story? And why should people care about your story? You want to keep them coming back, not forcing the information into them, but bring them in with intrigue about what makes you unique. Why should they support you? Why should they be interested in your service or your product? And that's what I don't see is happening on a smaller level with social media. It's just this, let me post a picture every single day and somehow that's going to create revenue. There's no connection. But meanwhile, there's this industry that's perpetuating that, hey, you don't even need to know anything about social media. As long as you're young and you know how to approach these businesses and sell them into to signing up for your service, it doesn't even matter. Whether or not you actually see results, who cares? Because no one's really knows what a result from social media marketing looks like on a small scale. There's never really, from at least my perspective, any real evidence that this stuff is actually making these companies any money. So just the money to result ratio is baffling. And if it was anything else, these business owners would not be putting up with it. But because there's just simply that massive ignorance, it allows it to continue. Will this change? I think absolutely. I think right now with social media, it's very similar to the early days of medical science. People knew there was some legitimacy to medical science, but, there was a lot of snake oil and stuff going on with it. And there wasn't necessarily proof, bloodletting. Well, let's drain all the blood from your body and that's the bacteria and the virus will drain with it. Well, that's kind of what we're seeing, I think, right now with social media is just nobody really knows what they're doing, but everyone's just trying really hard to get results. So that's pretty much all I have to say. That's today's video. Thank you so much for watching.